Section 2.4 Addition and Subtraction of Fractions Applications. The welder needs a piece of half-inch pipe 11 3/8 inch long. She has a piece that is 23 1/16 inches long. How much must she cut off from the longer piece? Okay, so we are simply going to be subtracting the difference, right? So we're going to take the larger one, in this case the whole piece, that one right there, 23 1/16, and we are going to subtract the part that we're cutting off, like that, which is 11 3/8 piece. Okay. Now, generally speaking, if you have mixed numbers, your first step is to convert everything into an improper fraction. If you have a calculator, you can use that instead. But let's convert these mixed numbers into improper fractions. So we're going to say 23, the whole number, multiplied by the denominator 16 plus 1. That's what that one's going to be. And on the other one, right here, we are going to say, 11 multiplied by 8 plus 3. 23 plus 16 is 368. Plus 1 is 369. And of course, it's going to go over the old denominator of 16. Then we say 11 times 8 is 88, plus 3 is 91. Now we put it over the old denominator of 8. So we rewrite the original equation, but now what we're saying is 369 over 16 minus 91 over 8. Now, because they don't have the same denominator, we need to make them have the same denominator. So what I can do is I can multiply 8 by 2, and therefore, to keep it an equivalent fraction, multiply the numerator by 2. And that gives me the original of 369 does not change, minus 182, because 91 times 2 is 182. And then we say 8 times 2 is 16. And then because they're like fractions, meaning they have the same denominator, we can subtract the numerator. All right. And when we subtract the numerator, we end up with 187 over 16. Now we reduce that. So we say the equivalent of 187 divided by 16. It goes into this 18 once. So we say 1 times 16 is 16. 16 from 18 is 2. We bring down the 7. We get a 27. How many times does 16 go into 27? It goes in there once. 1 times 16 is 16. 16 from 27 is 11. So it gives me a remainder of 11. And then what we do is we say, well, that's 11, the whole number part, with a remainder of 11, which is the new numerator, over 16. So we end up with an answer of 11 and 11/16 as how much must be cut off from the longer piece. Yeah. Okay. Let's try the next one. So what is the outside diameter of a tube whose inside diameter is 1 5/16 inch and whose wall thickness is 3/8? Okay, so we know that this thickness right here is 3/8. Okay, now to get the diameter, we have to add that in twice, right? So for instance, it would be on the top and on the bottom, if you kind of think of it right there, right? So we have to add that difference right there to both the top and the bottom, right? So that's going to occur twice in the. So what we're really saying is 1 5/16 plus 3/8 plus 3/8. Okay, now we can't add these together because we don't have like fractions, so I'm going to multiply this by 2 and this by 2. The least common denominator between an 8 and a 16 is a 16. So multiply that by 2, multiply that by 2. So, and I'm going to convert my 1 5/16 to, I'm going to convert that to an improper fraction. Yeah, I can't read that. By multiplying 1 by 16 and adding 5. 1 times 16 is 16. 16 plus 5 is 21. Put it over the old denominator of 16. Okay, cool. So what we end up with is 21/16 plus 6/16 plus 6/16 16ths. You could also have just multiplied this last one by 2. You could have multiplied the 3/8 by 2. If that occurred to you, that would have been another way of doing it. So now we're just going to multiply all the numerators because the denominators are the same. They are all like fractions in that they have the same denominator. You don't need to know this terminology. But you just add the numerators together. All right, so 21 plus 6 is 27. 27 plus 6 is 33. And we end up with 33/16. Now we probably want to convert that back to a mixed number. So what we're going to do is we are going to divide the 33 by 16. That'll give me 2. 2 times 16 is 32. 32 from 33 is 1 with a remainder of 1. And if we convert that back to a mixed number, we get 2 and 1, which is the remainder, over 16, which was the denominator. So we converted it back. So it looks like we have 2 and 1/16 inch diameter for the entire pipe. All right. Let's move on. So the newspaper ads are sold by the column inch, CI, which is the total number of column inches for a month in which a plumbing contractor has ads of 2.5, 6 3/4, 3 1/4, and 5 3/4, and 3 CI. So they want to know what is the total number of columns. Okay, so we're just adding all these together, right? So we're saying, oh, 2.5 plus 6 3/4 plus 3 1/4 plus 5 3/4 plus 3. Now, I recommend you use a calculator just like I do for all these problems, but I'll show you how to do it the long way. First, we need to convert all these into improper fractions. So we say 2 times 2 plus 1, which will give me 5 over 2. That's the first one. Watch the next one. It's 6 times 4 plus 3, which is going to give me 24 plus 3, or 27. And we put that over the old denominator of 4. So we end up with this for the second one. Next, we're going to say 3 times 4 plus 1, which gives me 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. 13/4. So that is the third one. Then we're going to say 5 times 4 plus 3. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 plus 3 is 23. And put that over the old one. And then we're just going to say 3. It's just 3, or 3 over 1 if you want to do that. Okay. So that means all that gobbledygook right there equals 5/2 plus 27/4 plus 13/4 and 23/4 and 3 over 1. Then we multiply the denominator by 4, multiply the denominator by 4, and then we multiply this denominator right here by 2, and multiply that one by 2 as well, the numerator right there. Okay, so and we're trying to get the least common denominator of 4. Now 4 just stays the same. We don't need to do anything with that. So what that does is it gives us 10 over 4 plus 27 over 4 plus 13 over 4 plus 23 over 4 plus 12 over 4, right? So since these are all like fractions in that they have the same denominator, we add together the numerators. 10 plus 27 plus 13 plus 23 plus 12. And then we add all that together, and then we stick it right back over the 4. So 10 plus 27 is 37. 37 plus 4 is 40, plus 10 is 50. 50 plus 23 is 73. 73 plus 12 is 85. 85. And that is 85/4. Okay, now we need to simplify that. So we simplify 85 over 4, that improper fraction, by dividing 85 by 4. So 4 goes into 8 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 from 8 is 0. Just goes away, right? And we bring down the 5. 4 goes into 5 once. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 from 5 is 1. Remainder of 1. And that gives me 21 and 1/4. All right. All right. A piece of electrical pipe conduit has a diameter of 1.5 inches and a wall thickness of 3 1/4 inches. What is the inside diameter? Okay, so this is different that they're saying the total diameter is 1.5, and we're dealing with the wall thickness. So instead of us adding, now we're going to be saying 1.5. Now we're going to subtract out the 3/16, not just once, but twice. So this is kind of the opposite of a previous problem we did. Now, we need to convert the 1 times 2 plus 1. 1 times 2 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, so we end up with 3 halves. So what we end up with here is 3 halves minus 3 16th minus 3 16th. Now you could have also just said 2 times 3 16ths. You could have done that, and that would have given you 6 16ths, which reduces to 3 eighths. That's another way of doing it. So if it occurred to you to do that multiplication instead of subtracting twice, you could do that too. But I'll do it this way. Okay, now we need to find the least common denominator, so what I'm going to do is multiply that by 8 and that by 8. Oops. And what that will give me is 24 over 16 minus 3 16ths minus 3 16ths. And because now we have like fractions, they all have the denominator, the same denominator of 16th. 16, now we can add or subtract their numerators. So 24 minus 3 is 21. 21 minus 3 is 18. 18 over 16. We can divide both of these by 2. And that gives me 9 over 8. And then what we can do is we can simplify that. So we can say, well, 9 divided by 8, 1. 1 times 8 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1 with a remainder of 1 gives me 1. And 1 eighth. 1 and 1/8. So it looks like the inside diameter is 1 and 1/8. All right. So let's try the next one. So the wheel stagger of an automobile is still the difference between the axle-to-axle lengths on the right and left side. If this length is 103 1/4 inches on the right side of the particular car and 102 5/8 inches on the left side, find the wheel stagger of this automobile. Okay, so we want to find the difference, which means we subtract. So whenever you see the word difference, then you know you're subtracting. So 103, 104, and we are subtracting 102, 5/8. A common way of doing this is to convert everything to improper fraction. You could just use a calculator. If you have a scientific calculator, you should just be able to type this in and push enter, and it should spit out the correct answer. Okay, so we're going to say something like 103 times 4 plus 1. Right, 103 times 4 looks like that's 400. 12 plus 1, which is 400. 13 over the original denominator of 4. Got the first one. Next one's going to be 102 times 8 plus 5. 102 times 8 is 8. 16 plus 5. 16 plus 5 is 8. 21 over 8, like that. So we just rewrite our original problem as 4, 13 over 4 minus 8, 21 eighths. Now we need to get a least common denominator of 8, which is between 4 and 8, right? Least common denominator. So I multiply the 4 by 2 to turn it into an 8, which means I multiply the numerator by 2 as well. So that turns the entire thing into 2 times 4, 13 is 826 over 8. I think all this is right. Minus 821 over 8. And it's 826 minus 821 because they're like denominators. We can just, or like fractions because they have the same denominator. We simply would subtract their numerators. Oops. So we're saying 826 minus 821. And we would say, well, the difference is 5/8. So it looks like the wheel stagger, what is it? Yeah, the wheel stagger is 5/8 inch. You should always include your unit. I'm being lazy and not including the unit, but you should normally always include your unit. And if you want to be technical about it, you should even answer word problems in the form of a word problem. But we're not being picky like that. So if I wanted to be thorough about it, I would say something like, the wheel stagger of this automobile is equal to 5/8 of an inch. Something like that.